Dakota. What brought me to the ranch was years of bullying. I was a really small child when I was young. When I entered 9th grade, I was still the size of most 5th and 6th graders. I remember a big milestone in 9th grade when I hit 90 pounds. It was really something. The bullying, I always kind of thought was a part of life and what everybody was dealing with. It started in about 3rd grade, I can remember the first incidents. As it progressed through the years, I started having to find ways home that I could avoid these other students or kids that I'd have problems with. I'd find ways that I could hide. There was even one route that I took home that there was a couple of grain silos that were real close together that a really small person could fit through and a bully couldn't. And more than once I utilized that spot. Everyone wonders, why did you report the bully, or why it wasn't as on everyone's mind and forefront as it is today. I did bring it up. There was this minor discussion with him, but it all turned out to just end up in more retaliation from the bully, which made life a lot worse. There was a lot of mind games they play with you, scheduling times that they were going to beat me up or do whatever they were going to do to me. And it wasn't just the other students, there was teachers that were also involved in some of this. I had a gym teacher also that took great pleasure in pointing out the inadequacies. I definitely was not skilled with a ball or any sort of athletic event whatsoever. The way to get by on this was I spent a lot of time skipping school. It just started my downhill trend. I didn't understand this, so I skipped school, I play sick. I even made a hiding spot in my parents' garage. I remember climbing up into the rafters of the garage and hiding in the rafters of the garage until my parents all went to work, and then I would sneak down and do whatever I did all day long. More than once, I got pretty adept at forging my parents' signature on notes for being sick or why I missed. More than one occasion, I'd run away from home. Anything I could do to avoid going and dealing with the problem. I started to retreat into role-playing games. I don't think the role-playing games as a whole were bad, but I started to just really retreat from society because it gave me a place to empower myself. And that just started in a more spiral. You become more out of touch with society, and you become picked on more, and it just kept building. Until I started bringing this anger and these problems home. I started taking these issues out on my family and my brother. I started doing some of the things that the bullies would do to me to my own siblings. Just what you learn, you do, I guess. It was really unpleasant. I spent a lot of time starting to obsess about killing myself and suicide when I was in about 8th grade. Excuse me. So I didn't want to die. But I didn't want to live either with what was going on. As a child, it was so overwhelming. You don't know who to turn to or what to do. It just seemed like the only way to take care of it. One day, a boy fight with me at school, and it was in front of some friends, and it was incredibly humiliating. I completely snapped. I went looking for things. I was going to murder this boy. There was no doubt in my mind. I was going to end his life. I went and found a broom handle and a large screwdriver in a maintenance closet. And I chased this boy down, and I began to attack him. Thankfully, a teacher intervened and taken me away from the boy. And even while they were carrying me away, I continued to scream and throw the screwdriver at him. We were separated. Immediately, the school knew that I had to be removed from school. I was expelled. My parents had tried many things. They tried counselors. I didn't know what was causing my anger, my problems. The counselors asked, why are you so angry? You don't know. And, plus you're fighting back. You push back against your parents. It would be a week or 2 weeks at best, and if you resisted enough, my parents would give up and they wouldn't go back. After the school evicted me, or expelled me, my parents took me to a psych hospital, or a psych ward called St. Ansgar's Hospital in Minnesota, or in Moorhead. After a short period of time there, they realized that it was much more than they could deal with. I needed more help than just a short stay of 1 or 2 months in St. Ansgar's Hospital could do to help me, or help me get by. I fought back against them. They locked me in some of these small rooms when I was losing control. The rooms weren't as well made as some of the ones I saw today. They had these old style heat radiators. I remember breaking one of the rungs out of the radiator and trying to slash my wrists at St. Ansgar. They made the recommendation, as far as I can tell, to my parents signing me over to the ranch. The boys' ranch came and got me. One of my counselor came and got me and took me to the ranch. My first impression of the ranch, the boys' ranch that I went to, which is quite a bit different than the one today, but my first impression then was that all the locks were on the inside. We weren't locked in from the outside. That meant a lot to us as boys. It was very warm and inviting. It was a family environment. Everyone genuinely cared about each and every one of us. I grew real close to one of my house parents. He even took me out and taught me how to drive. It was really something as a teenager. The counseling wasn't so intrusive that the boys pushed back. From what I saw, it was they more encouraged us to get out as a group and be out together as a group and function as a group. A lot of the boys grew because of that. Even the horses, which I didn't care for the horses. I was a motorcycle person. But the guns were cool. And we were the bad boys when we went to town. Girls like us. We thought that was pretty cool. And the system that they used then was a level system. And the boys voted on levels that the other boys would be given responsibilities for. And it worked. It worked very well for all of us. The boys all commented that they thought that system was absolutely perfect. If you put your friend on a level of trust and he didn't live up to his expectations, everybody suffered as a result. And as a result, everybody pushed everybody else to be better because it affected everyone. We had a shop there that we were encouraged to do welding and metalworking, and we made a hammer. We had to file this metal for, it seemed like weeks. We called it File a While class. I still have the hammer. It's not a very good hammer, but I still have it. One of the other things that I remember about it, that I remember fondly, was we had a chef that was in charge of our food. And he was, every boy that came through, he knew every boy's name. He smiled at each and every one of us every single time we came through. And he served food with love to all of us. Wherever he is, I remember him fondly. We were allowed to earn money. He talked about the corn. The boys joked about it being slave labor. We were paid, and we thought that was great. We spent the entire summer walking in the field and knowing where the crop was blighted, where the crop was good. Everybody knew where to go in. We picked the corn by hand, and I think we stripped the field bare in one afternoon. And then we were allowed to sell the corn and then take that money and go be the bad boys in town. That was After leaving the ranch, I wish I could say it was all rainbows. I still had trouble in society. I kind of had a bad group of friends that I still associated with. There was a lot of drinking and breaking the law. I spent a little bit of time in jail for stealing a car stereo. It wasn't my prouder moment. They actually had to let me out of jail for the day so I could graduate from high school. That's a friend of mine went to college in Thief River Falls. They had an aviation program. I don't know if they have it anymore, to become an A&P mechanic. I had nothing else going on. I was, drinking beer and chasing a girl. I said, well, that sounds fun. Let's go try that. So I went to Thief River Falls, and I became an A&P mechanic, aircraft mechanic. An automotive shop hired me out of that school, and I ended up working at this automotive shop in Grafton, North Dakota, for about 6 or 7 years. I worked a lot of hours. I knew I needed to get out of Grafton and needed to do something different. I joined the Navy and left North Dakota. I advise it highly. I learned avionics. I worked on the F-18 fire control radar systems. Did 4 years in the Navy, saw places in the world that were interesting, but I learned quickly that the Navy wasn't the place for me. I met a nice lady while I was in the Navy in Washington State. I'm still with her today. We have 3 wonderful children together. I had a custom car building business on my property, and I raised my 3 children. My wife worked, so I was fortunate enough to spend all my kids' years with them until at least my last one was in first grade. It was 14 years that I just won't trade for anything. When the economy went down, my business went down, and I was forced to look for a job. I applied for a job with the Department of Defense, working at the Naval Shipyard in Bremerton, Washington. After an extensive background check, it was 121 pages of background check. It took months and months. I was granted a security clearance. And I believe that my spark that was started as metalworking at the ranch led to my passion for working with metals and dealing with steels. I'm now a tool maker at Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, and I am responsible for designing, engineering, and building tooling to fix our nation's nuclear reactors in submarines and aircraft carriers. Without the ranch, I don't think I would have made it out to this point in my life, or would have had my kids.